podcasts. And tonight's podcast is 7 ways why what I think is from yesterday. And that's going to show me the way to how to rise out of the past. Well, the intro is, it's a warrior astute intro. It needs to hit with clean clarity and straight through the illusion. This is one straight through the illusion. This one gives you that sharp sovereign voltage while explaining why you think from the past without collapsing into psychology or cliches. I think from the past because the mind answers faster than my awakened awareness of the here and now. Before I can sense what's actually happening, my memory fires off old interpretations, old emotions, old identities, identity reflexes that pretend to be truth. Thinking isn't meeting the moment, it's retrieving archived snapshots of who I used to be. Every thought is stitched from what I survived, defended, or inherited. So unless I fully present the past, unless I'm fully present, the past speaks louder than the now. As warrior wisdom begins the moment, I notice this is hijacked and stopped letting yesterday think for me. Why today's thinking is still controlled by ancestor survival mode programming. The mind still uses ancient danger detection instead of present moment perceptions. Your ancestors survived by scanning for threat, never authenticity. The wiring never updated. It simply hid inside modern thinking. So today's thoughts still fire from the same survival reflex. Do you see that in your life? I do in mine. And I really now pay attention to what is going on in that. So today's thoughts still fire from the same survival reflex: assume danger, predict loss, avoid risk, protect identity. This makes thinking a fear-based reply, or fear-based replay, never a fresh perception. The warrior sees that most thoughts are just ancient alarms dressed up as logic. Identity is built from inherited survival strategies, never awakened awareness. Your ancestors survived by fitting in, shrinking, obeying the tribe, and avoiding the rejection. Those strategies become emotional reflexes, then identity patterns. Then who I am is today's thinking defends those inherited identities as if your life still depends on them. This is why the mind resists change. It believes change equals danger. Warrior wisdom recognizes that identity is ancestral survival software, never authenticity. Emotional memory overrides clarity because the nervous system still treats old pain as present threat. Survival mode is restored. Emotional snapshots, fear, social tattoos, shame, loss, rejections as warnings for future generations. These snapshots still hijack today's thinking within all of us. The mind interprets neutral moments through old emotional imprints, making the present feel like the past. This is why thinking becomes reactive, repetitive, and protective. When awareness leads, those emotions echoes loss authority and clarity, echoes loss, and authority and clarity returns. While everything I think is from the past, thought is the mind replaying archived interpretations, never meeting the moment. Every thought is stitched from what you've already lived, feared, defended, or inherited. The mind never perceives, it retrieves. Before awareness can sense anything, fresh memories, anything fresh, memory fires off old meanings, old emotions, old conclusions. Thinking feels current, and it's actually yesterday's impersonating now. It's yesterday impersonating now. Warrior wisdom begins when you notice that thinking is never perception, it's recollection. Identity reflexes filter that present through who you used to be. How do you still live life who you thought you used to be, but yet you think you've risen out of it, but yet you're the same? I see that a lot and sometimes in my life. Your mind organizes reality through the identity you built to survive from childhood, culture, education, ancestral programming. And that's something I've really awakened to is ancestral programming is very much alive and well today, and it does control us, even though we want to think we've risen out of it, but we really haven't. That identity becomes a lens that edits what you can see, feel, and choose. So your thinking defends the past version of you, never the present one. Until awareness leads, your thoughts are identity, maintenance, and never authenticity. Emotional memory hijacks clarity by making the present feel like the past. Unresolved emotions become snapshots the mind replays as warnings. These emotional imprints shape your interpretations before you realize it. A neutral moment gets filtered through old fear, old shame, old rejection, old survival reflexes. This makes thinking reactive, repetitive, and proactive, never fresh. It never ignites the light of fresh foresight to fly through your veins of fame. When awareness rises, those emotional echoes lose authority, clarity, and returns. Why today's events are unknowingly controlled by ancestor programming. And you can really witness that in the business world and in the physical world today. Survival mode reflexes still interpret neutral events as ancient threats. Your ancestors survived by reacting fast, assuming danger, and scanning for what could go wrong. That wiring never updated, it simply hid inside of modern perception. When something happens today, your nervous system interprets it through old tribal fear, never present moment veracity. A comment, a delay, a tone of voice, a change in plans, the body reacts as if the tribe might exile you. Do you see that in your life? I've had that happen in my life. I'd like to say it doesn't happen now, but it does. Everybody thinks they've shifted out of it. All you shifted is to another place. You've never risen out of it. Emotional imprints inherited from generations shape how you read the moment. Your lineage passed down emotional snapshots, fear, shame, scarcity, soul tattoos, rejection, as survival instructions. These imprints color your interpretations before you even think. Today's events get filtered through yesterday's emotional memory, making the present feel like continuation of ancestor struggle. This is why reactions often feel bigger than the moment. You're never reacting to now, you're reacting to the echo of those who came before you. After hearing that, that rises to that. Identity patterns built for ancestral survival still dictate your choices. Your ancestors survived by fitting in, staying small, avoiding conflict, and protecting the tribe's approval. These strategies become identity reflexes. Be good, don't stand. Don't stand out. Don't upset anyone, stay safe. When events unfold today, your mind still uses those inherited identities to decide what's allowed, what's dangerous, what's possible, and the scenarios of whatever it is. This makes your responses past driven, never awakened awareness, daredevilry. Until you see the pattern the past keeps choosing for you, you do the same. How do you react to things the same today as you did years ago? I catch myself at it now because I'm awakened and aware of the dare to rise out of it. Why thinking has kept the world stuck in ancestor leadership. If you look at the world today, we pretty much do the warmongering of the past. Look what's going on around the world. Thinking repeats ancient survival reflexes, never awakened leadership. The world still leads from the same mental wiring your ancestors used to avoid danger. Stay safe, stay small, avoid risk, obey authority, protect the tribe. Thinking pulls from the archive, so modern leadership becomes fear-based management, never visionary presence. Leaders are never leading; they're reenacting ancestor survival mode scripts. How do you see that in your bosses, the CEOs and things of today? I see that and I witness it big time. Thinking defends inherited identities instead of sensing present moment veracity. Ancestor anchored leadership is built on roles: the strong one, the provider, the protector, the authority, the unquestioned expert. Thinking protects these inherited identities because the mind believes identity equals safety. This keeps leaders locked in yesterday's persona, unable to perceive what the moment actually requires to light the fire of foresight in everybody. Awareness evolves, thinking preserves. Thinking recycles old emotional imprints, soul tattoos that shape decisions through past trauma, drama, never the present moment clarity. See, we think in trauma and drama as inspiration lights our paths of enlightenment. Ancestors passed down emotional snapshots, fear of loss, fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of exile. Thinking uses these emotional imprints as filters for decision making. This creates leadership This creates leadership that reacts, restricts, and controls instead of sensing, expanding, and liberating. The world stays stuck because leaders are guided by inherited fear, never awakened intelligence. Why PhD education is from ancestor anchored programming and hierarchy enslaved mindsets. It preserves the ancient hierarchy where authority outranks awareness. Long before modern education, survival depended on obeying the elder, the chief, the priest, the one who knew. PhD style system still mirror that structure. The expert sits at the top, the student at the bottom, and the knowledge flows one direction. This keeps the mind loyal to hierarchy instead of direct awakened perception. That system unintentionally repeats an ancestor pattern. Safety comes from obeying the one above you. It trains the mind to defend inherited knowledge instead of sensing fresh insight. Ancient survival required remembering the tribe's rules, stories, and warnings. Modern academic training often reinforces the same reflex. Memorize, cite, defend, repeat. That's the school system. And your life, your parents. The mind becomes a guardian or an established framework rather than an explorer of fresh awareness. And that's something I really want to express to you. The word fresh over the word new. Say the word new, what do you feel? Say the word fresh, what do you feel? And whatever it is, for me, it's fresh. It gives me more excitement. This turns knowledge into protective shields, never a tool for clarity. The result is a mindset shaped by preservation, never perception. It reinforces identity, roles built from survival strategies. Through ancestral cultures, identity roles kept the tribe stable. The wise one, the healer, the keeper of knowledge. PhD style education can unintentionally recreate those roles by tying worth to titles, credentials, and intellectual status. The identity becomes a performance of expertise rather than an expression of awareness. This anchors the mind in yesterday's identity, never today's originality. Why? What I think is shaped and programmed from childhood, parents, and education. Childhood trained my mind to think for safety, never clarity. As a child, I learned to read the world through approval, correction, reward, and punishment. I had a few of them. My nervous system wired itself to avoid conflict, avoid rejection, avoid disappointment. The adults who controlled my and to avoid disappointing the adults, the school teachers who controlled my survival. Those early patterns became the blueprint for how I interpret life today. My thinking still follows the childhood rule book, never present moment veracity. Parents pass down their emotional reflexes, that were never my original perception. Parents never teach awareness. They transmit their fears, beliefs, habits, and survival strategies. Did you witness that in your life? I did. And that really awakened me today when I wrote that. I inherited their reactions, their interpretations, their anxieties, their coping styles. These emotional imprints become the filters my mind still uses to make sense of the world. What I think often is never mine. It's other people's outside sources, my parents' unresolved past living through me, and I witnessed that in my life, and that's I really witnessed it because I do a lot of things like my parents did, and once I awakened to it, I rose out of it. Education conditioned me to obey information instead of sensing the novelty of life. School rewarded memorization, correctness, and conformity. It trained me to trust external authority over inner awareness. It taught me to think in pre-approved ways, repeat accepted answers, and suppress original perceptions. My thinking became a product of institutional programming, and yes, mine did, not awakened wisdom. The system shaped my mind to recall the past, never receive the present moment magical energy. Have you ever noticed when you're in a conversation and you say, I think, the conversation drives up? I have. As soon as you're in a conversation, you say, I think, the conversation, that shifts the conversation from presence to past-based memory. The moment you say think, you stop speaking from awareness and start speaking from archived interpretation. The energy drops because the conversation is no longer alive. It becomes a replay of what you've already believed, defended, or inherited. Presence collapse, the exchange loses its voltage. I think signals ego identity taken over instead of inner clarity. When thinking steps in, identity steps in. The performer, the defender, the one who must be right steps forward. I've witnessed that a lot in my life. The other person feels the shift instantly. The conversation stops being a shared exploration and becomes a mental performance. The ego switch drives the field because awareness is no longer leading. I think closes the door to fresh insight and forces the past into the moment. Thinking pulls from memory, never the now. When you say I think, you unknowingly anchor the conversation to yesterday's conclusions. Fresh wisdom can never enter because the mind has already decided what's true. The exchange stops expanding and starts shrinking. The hallmark of a dried up dialogue. Why today's mindset is from yesterday's thinking. The mind uses old interpretations to navigate here and now moments. Today's mindset isn't built from what's happening now, it's built from meanings you assign to past experiences. Today's mindset isn't built from what's happening now, it's built from the mindset, from the meanings you assign to past experiences. The mind never perceives, it retrieves. It pulls yesterday's conclusions, fears, emotional snapshots, soul tattoos, all the old stuff into today's decisions and lifestyle. This makes your current mindset a recycled version of your past, never a reflection of the present. Identity reflexes force today to match who you were, never who you are. Your mindset is shaped by identity you built to survive with from childhood, culture, and education. That identity becomes a filter that edits what you can see, feel, and choose. So your mindset defends old roles, old beliefs, and old emotions, patterns. Today's mindset is really yesterday's identity performing itself again. Emotional memory hijacks perception and makes now feel like then. Unresolved emotions from the past become the lens through which you interpret the present. A natural moment gets filtered through old fear, old shame, old rejection, old survival reflexes. This emotional echo shapes your mindset before you even think. Today's mindset is emotionally anchored to yesterday's wounds, never today's clarity. Why thinking shuts off listening, asking questions, and invokes an unrealized, stubborn, egotistical, know-it-all ignorance. Thinking replaces listening with memory. Thinking replaces listening with memory. So you stop hearing what's actually being said. The moment you start thinking, you're no longer present. You're retrieving old interpretations, old defenses, old meanings. Listening collapses because the mind is busy comparing the moment to the past instead of receiving it. This creates a subtle arrogance, the belief that you already know what's being said before the other person even finishes. Thinking blocks real questions because the mind prefers certainty over discovery. Questions require openness, curiosity, and awakened awareness. Thinking requires conclusions, positions, and protections. When the mind starts thinking, it stops exploring. It switches from sensing to defending. This is why the unrealized stubbornness appears. The mind clings to what it already believes instead of allowing a fresh insight to flow in, so with fluid foresight to light your light of destination. Thinking activates the ego's need to be right. Thinking activates the ego's need to be right, which masquerades as intelligence, but it's actually inherited ignorance. Man, I understand that one. I've done that one. When thinking takes over the ego steps in to protect identity, status, and the illusion of knowing. This creates a know-it-all posture that isn't wisdom, it's ancestral programming trying to stay safe by controlling the narrative. The arrogance isn't intentional, it's automatic. The mind mistakes familiarity for truth and ignorance for certainty. Ah. Why maverick questions, hearkened wisdom, intuitive inspiration destroys ancestor thinking mindsets. Maverick questions interrupt the mind's automatic replay of inherited beliefs. Ancestor anchored thinking runs on autopilot, old conclusions, old fears, and old interpretations. A maverick question slices through the loop and the script of yesterday. It forces the mind to stop retrieving the past and confront the present. This interruption is where wisdom enters. The question breaks the trance, and the old programming loses its authority. Maverick questions bypass the ego's need to know and reopen intuitive perceptions. The ego survives by pretending it already understands everything. Maverick questions expose that illusion. They dissolve the ego's grip by revealing the limits of knowledge. When the ego can never answer, intuition steps forward. The question becomes a doorway to insight, never a demand for information. This is how inspiration replaces inherited thinking. Maverick questions destabilize hierarchical mindsets and restore sovereign awareness. Ancestor thinking is hierarchical. Elders know you. Thinking is old beliefs and thinking your elders know you obey. Experts know you follow the past and knows the present submits. A maverick question flips the structure. It refuses obedience to old frameworks and demands direct perception. This destroys the mental hierarchy and returns authority to awareness. The moment you question the inherited script, the script collapses. Why maverick questions hearken wisdom, intuitive inspiration dissolves thinking mindsets, ancestor thinking mindsets. Maverick questions interrupt the mind's ancestral autopilot and forces awareness to take the wheel. Ancestor anchored thinking runs on repetition, old beliefs, old fears, old interpretations. A maverick question slices through that loop. It disrupts the mind's survival-based reflex to know and pulls you out of inherited certainty. The moment the question lands, the old script glitches and awareness rises you out of the situation. That interruption is the birthplace of wisdom. Maverick questions expose the limits of thinking and reopens a channel of intuitive wisdom, insight, and clarity. Thinking depends on memory, intuition depends on presence. When a maverick question appears, the mind can never answer from its archives. It has zero files for the unknown. The collapse of mental control dissolves ego certainty and creates space for intuitive inspiration to rise. The question becomes a doorway to insight, never a demand for information. This is how inspiration replaces inherited thought. Maverick questions dismantle hierarchical mindsets by refusing obedience to old frameworks. Ancestor thinking is hierarchy, thinking the elders know you obey, experts know you follow the past. The present submits. A maverick question flips that structure. It challenges the authority of inherited beliefs and demands direct perception. The moment you question the unquestioned, the hierarchy collapses. Sovereign awareness destroys ancestral obedience. And that's the reason we think and know our way to yesterday, because thinking is all from the past, and everything from the mind is from the past. And I want to thank you. I'm Robert A. Wilson, and we'll be here Tuesday night with What I